I can't wait to watch my favorite game.
He's got the smite ready. He can go for it. It's just going to be a flip. Seal's going to go. He can't get it shoulder.
Something is wrong with this. Something's definitely wrong with this. This is the DFM RJ I knew. Don't miss our match of the week this Friday.
Yo, shout out to Hina. Yo, respect for that content. I really rate that. That's lit. That's lit. More of that. Respect. We got ganked by that video. We weren't aware that was happening. And then boom, our producer, Chris, he was like, yo, there's a video, by the way. Sick. Respect to Hina. Shout out. Love that. But game 3 coming your way. But first, we've got to introduce who is on the desk. Kashka, Recollect, welcome in. How are you guys feeling today? Hopefully it's nice and sunny where you guys are as well.
Yeah, it is, and I'm feeling great, ready for some games. I feel like both of these today, there's a certain expectation going into them, but I'm seeing potential for it to go either way in both of these matches.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we got some banging games now. I'm pretty excited to watch these ones. I think that game 1 particularly, there's a lot of outs in draft that potentially could make this game very much a little bit more of a toss-up than I think people are expecting.
Okay, well, we are going to see predictions there coming through. DFM is the chosen for these ones. You know, for the first game, DFM is what we've decided that is going to be the winner. And let's get into it, you know? Like, I feel like DFM obviously have always had this kind of, like, crown. They've always been very strong. Sengoku have picked up the win against them so far, but obviously only one time played. This is still the first round robin. Rascal Jester's not had the best split so far, and we were talking a little before the show, and Recollect, I'm going to let you take the floor on this one.
Yeah, so we were discussing the standings in terms of where people are sort of power ranking people, and I think this team is actually... and this is obviously my own opinion, I think they're one of the most overrated teams right now. I think that this is a 5th, 6th place team. I'd say 6th place overall. I think this team is getting a little bit of history bias, I think, coming into play potentially. Because when I look down the names of these players, I think Recap has really been quite shaky in the mid lane. I think that Soul and Secret have had probably... They're looking like a pretty... 5th place bot lane kind of situation, and when that's kind of where you want to be playing through, particularly in this series, it's not exactly filling me with a lot of confidence in this team.
Fair enough. Obviously, everyone entitled to their own opinion. Kashka, do you feel like, similar to Recollect, do you feel like they're a 6th place team, or would you rank them slightly differently on how they've been performing?
Well, it's hard to disagree on the basis of performance, but I feel like we do have to... I mean, historical bias, you may call it that, but they've had a similar start to the first split. I still kind of believe that they might be able to pick it up, but it's very rightful to criticize them coming into this summer split like that after having such a high finish in spring. I would put them 4th, 5th, maybe leaning more towards 5th at the moment, but I feel like this is going to be a very good yardstick, because if they... maybe not even get a win. If they get to show something good against DFM, that kind of brings my hopes up for the next round robins.
Yeah, now, we have to remember, in spring, they did go 3-4 in their first round robin, and then they proceeded to go 13-1 for the rest of it, taking the 2nd spot in the league. So, there is still a lot of potential for them to climb back up the rankings, so obviously, this is just some very early thoughts on the teams. I will say, Jester have definitely been up and down. You know, I feel like we've had a few teams that have kind of been like, on a good day, they're amazing. On a bad day, they've looked pretty bad. They've picked up wins against SHG, V3, and CGA. But they've also lost to Axis and Burning Core and obviously Sengoku. So it definitely feels like they do kind of pivot between we're awesome, we're amazing, and then we're not so good, you know. So it is a little bit of a shaky start for Rascal Jesters. Today, a big question is going to be asked though. Can they take on DFM? We've all decided that they won't. Kashko, why are you feeling like DFM are so favoured here?
think DFM, once you get into their mid game, the team really starts shining through. They've got clean macro game, they know what they want to be doing, and they get the things done that they need in order to win games. And Rascal Jester, their early games haven't been the most explosive, and if you're looking to match DFM later in the later stage of the game, I just don't think they'll be able to do it very effectively.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would say that DFM have looked pretty strong. There's only 2 teams where I felt like they were like, oh, okay, maybe something could happen here. Obviously, the first being Sengoku, where they did actually lose to. But also, CJ did put up a very strong performance against DFM, getting a large goal lead in the early game. Maybe that could be the key to success, but as you rightfully stated, Russell Jester's not notoriously quick on the early game. They are more of a late game scaling team. Recollect, is that kind of your reasoning as well, why you think DFM are going to win? Or do you have maybe some other thoughts on this?
So I think that there are a lot of it sounds a little bit strange, but I think there are outs against DFM. But in the majority of outcomes, I think that they have a high chance of winning. I think that Yaharong into recap is a really rough matchup for the side of Rascal Jester. I think that Yaharong has quietly been one of the most consistent players in the league in general. I think looks really strong, and you always have the Evi factor to consider as well.
Well, we won't have to wait very long to get into this one. Draft is up. Arsenal Jesters versus DFM, which was an absolutely massive match in spring. We'll see how big this one is going to be today. Cashgirl Recollect, let's go into this game.
Alright, the Bass are coming through. Rascal Jester will be on the blue side. DFM on the red. Wukong is the one pick that we both expected to be taken off or first pick, and now it's banned away by DFM.
Yeah, a little bit awkward to see that taken off the table. And I think that DFM's team obviously very, very strong. I'm looking forward to seeing if Rascal Jesters will attempt to pivot in some way to deny carries from Evi. Because if you can get this guy on a tank suddenly, it feels like DFM, they're a little bit of a different beast, a little bit less terrifying. On the subject of terrifying, we do have that Zeri locked in, known for being one of the best AD carries in the patch.
Yes, instant response of an Arayumi though. That is not usually the first rotation you see, and not one locked in this fast.
Yeah, definitely a strange one to see. You are denying, obviously, Yumi Zeri. The thing is that this Zeri-Lulu combination is very strong as well, as the E will obviously trigger onto Zeri's little submachine gun. So it's not exactly the greatest takeaway. It does, however, incentivize things like this Yumi Ezreal, which enables you to play a much more strong side-focused draft, which, if you know anything about DFM, they are good when Evi is feeling good.
Absolutely. Now, I do want to see what Rascal Jester will do with their jungler, because that's not something that I pointed out explicitly, but 2 jungle bans with the Poppy and the Wukong clearly targeting Hatchamech's champ pool. If you don't lock it in right now, like, he's just going to get banned out even more, you have to feel like.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and because of that, it's highly likely we do see that jungle pick come through. However, the Lissandra are going to come through here for recap. It is that safe matchup, it is known to be that counter into this Ahri as well, and instead of going that safe Ezreal, we're throwing down the gauntlet in the bot side. The Twitch comes through.
Not a pick I've seen in a long time in competitive, if I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, so I've been discussing the prominence of Twitch and sort of why the champion hasn't come to fruition yet. I think is actually in a really strong spot, does spike quite hard around level 6 now, as opposed to what it used to be for the AD. The thing is, though, is that obviously that weaker laning phase into some of these AD carry sort of bot lane metas. You're not playing Twitch into Lucian Nami, for example. That's a horrible matchup. But if you can sort of get yourself to that Blade of the Ruin King, maybe 2-item sort of spike, you're able to really dish out damage and delete some bot lanes. Question is, when you've got this Lissandra matchup as well as this Zeri plus Nautilus, you've got to be worried about the potential of getting dived early on if you do see an aggressive jungler come out here for Hachimecha.
You absolutely do, and that's why you see the Trundle, Volibear bans, Viego thrown out from the side of Rascal Jester. Do they focus more on this jungle? So far, DFM still really needing the engage. They do get rid of the Vi, and now DFM. I'm looking for a jungler here. You still want someone to go in on your team. Who's it gonna be?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of options available. My first thought goes to Lee Sin. It pairs fairly well with this Ahri. You do have a lot of damage in that sort of 2v2. We've also got the Belbeth, which I was about to call something else, which is also very AD heavy. Does work pretty effectively into lower range compositions, but instead it's going to be that Skarner. So bring that CC, bring the engage. The question is, will there be the classic Skarner problem of just getting kited from this Rascal Jester composition?
Well, as of right now, it is a
Wow.
lot of crowd control locked in already, and even more hovered and on the way. Especially Zeri, if you manage to ever stack your ultimate, pretty fast, pretty hard to catch on.
So I'm a
This,
little bit worried here. Sorry, I feel like Rascal Jesters are about to fall into a pitfall if they do lock in this Sejuani in the top side because of the fact that they've now got this aggressive jungler in the to pair with CC lanes. I think we just see Evi pick Gnar, and then the game ends. Because Evi's Gnar, we've seen into the Sejuani matchup before. It is disgustingly good.
well, let's see if they're going to do that. That is the prediction thrown out there. But you recollect, they are hovering the gangplank and they are going to go for it, but it's still a laner that you can bully.
But I think the thing is that GP Gnar is a pretty well-known matchup in regards to the fact that you can semi-neutralize and just farm it out as this GP side. So I'm not completely unhappy about it. As far as blind picks go, it's probably one of the better ones. Ideally, you would have forced onto a tank situation in the top side, which isn't going to be the case. However, I mean, Evi just does not seem to care, always liking to try out new things, and that Vladimir going to come to fruition.
Okay, let's just take a step back. DFM have locked in 4 champions that they are still yet to play the split, and those are 4 champions which I would not put anywhere near like the top 5 things I would be expecting, maybe with the exception of the Yuumi. What the hell is this draft supposed to do, Echo? Like talk me through this, because my brain just cannot quite handle it.
Okay, so in general, I guess we'll start with the Vladimir pick, right? It's a champion which is going to be pretty happy into this GP matchup. You're also playing against a lot of low-range champions, which means the chance of Hema Plague landing onto multiple members is pretty high. You've also got the burst potential, and realistically, when you're playing into something like Zeri, you don't want to play long fights, you want to play burst fights, where you just delete them before they can get those stacks, before they can kite, because the Zeri's dream is just making the fights unbelievably poke effective, and slowly but surely whittling you down through war of attrition. So it makes sense in that regard. The only issue is, I wonder how this mid-jungle matchup is going to work out for the side of DFM.
Yeah, that is something to watch out for, because Bel'Veth, Lissandra, it is a lot of setup, and I believe it is also the mid-jungle duo we have seen at the beginning of the day from the side of Axis, and they were able to find some early responses to place, and Bel'Veth, once you get her rolling, she's a pretty strong champion indeed.
Yeah, I am a little bit of a... because obviously we need to keep everything unique. I'm actually not a massive fan of Bel'Veth as a champion because of one specific reason, and it's the fact that I think that she can really struggle against longer range compositions. And when your main carry is Twitch that you're playing against, I think there's potential here that Rascal Jesters may end up just getting sort of outranged by the Twitch in the later stages, as well as having to deal with this Ignite Ghost Vladimir, who clearly wanting to play very, very aggressive, both in lane and in those later stages.
Yeah, that is definitely one to watch. We're going to take a look at the rules. Nothing that really surprises me too much. Worth pointing out still, of course, going for the Predator, so just fitting the theme of let's run at Rascal Jester, try and get someone, press them down, and completely neutralize the rest of the team.
Yeah, absolutely. And looking sort of down the list, there's nothing too surprising in the runes. Obviously, we are seeing that Skarner pick here for Steel, the Predator, showing, should we say, the requirement of this champion. If you're not going to get into range of anyone, you're pretty useless. And I wonder whether we will see people end up having to pay their taxes, because we do have obviously the orange on the top side, so can kind of get away with it. However, the other members not necessarily affording the same financial security within this one. But it also means that I think Steel will struggle a little bit pre-6 to make things happen. So it's kind of on the DFM laners just play safe enough, play cautious enough to not get caught out early.
Secret gonna go for the hook. That is good damage down onto Harp. Utapon looking to trade back, and yeah, one of the good things about Nautilus is you just can go for those early plays if you're playing into a lane who needs a few levels before they start hitting hard.
Yeah, only issue is that when you are playing into this Yuumi lane, it is more of a war of attrition versus initial engage. So whilst this is a nice initial play here for Rascal Jester, I wonder whether in the long run the Yuumi lane will end up just sustaining out, and then suddenly HP value differences do come into play, because obviously the Nautilus only got those 2 potions, one of them already ticked down.
Indeed. Worth pointing out, both junglers are doing the full clears from their blue sides to their red sides for the time being. Still, it's going to be quicker on that, and Ino is currently pushing the top lane in.
Yeah, it is definitely possible to see something happen towards the top side, but I feel like Eno has a reasonable amount of ability to outplay this one. You can also just realistically shove that one in, crash it. In the bot side, though, more aggression.
Yeah, even more fighting going down. Soul brought down to half HP, and I'd say health-wise this is probably quite an even trade, but Yumi of course sustained, meaning that the DFM bot lane feeling better off at the end of it.
Yeah, and that's kind of the problem with this lane, right? Is that extra sustain difference. So you don't have, if you have a support like maybe the Alistar whose passive can come into play and help mitigate that, it will help out. But unfortunately, Nautilus and Zeri can't really do the same. And now Eno in a really awkward spot on the top side. There isn't a lot of mana. Might have to pop those biscuits to help crash this one. And Heavy just not allowing that recall at all.
Keeping the wave here, and now Ino will be taking the back right now, unless... Oh, okay, the Tides of Blood almost stopping this on recap. Could be in a bit of trouble. Cannot take the Frozen Paladin. Has to burn the Flash, but that is the first blood picked up by Aharong. HaChaMecha could not do a damn thing.
Yeah, the misplay from Recap, hovering the wrong side of the lane as well, ends up getting punished as another hook.
Udapon is actually getting very, very low, but now the minions blocking this area auto attacks. He is going to be just fine. Cleanse for Ignite being traded. No kills.
Yeah, but this time, Harp's looking a little bit rougher, should we say, in terms of the mana department. Does still have about half left, but Secret could still look for more. It is sort of a trade kill situation now here for Rascal Jester, but they're able to get themselves that push. I'd like to see them try to at least ward out that bottom side before they base. They're not going to end up doing that, though, so it does mean that you're kind of not getting any amazing value, but look at the CS discrepancy here in the bottom side. It's already looking very much Rascal Jester favored, so at the very least they are piloting their champions relatively well in the mid lane, or in the early game rather, but in terms of the mid lane, Recap just ends up going towards this top side, wanting to help their jungler out for a crab, I imagine, but it's just too early. There's no real reason to path this way, and the punish is more than enough. Easy charm for Yaharong, and it's just flash for flash. Easy as you like. DFM will take that first blood happily.
Yeah, and really good timing there on the charm. Just a bit of a shadow. No way that Recap could escape from this one, and easy as that. Yeah, Harong with a kill, with a bit of CS advantage. Overall, DFM still shy of 1,000 gold, and... well, in terms of good things for Rascal Jester, it really is only that volume, because Belveth not going to have too much of an impact early on. Ino is getting bullied out by Evie in the CS department, and we just saw the mid lane, so it's only that Zeri you've got for yourself now, Rascal Jester.
Yeah, the biggest problem with that sort of kill in the mid lane is that it actually throws off a bunch of your timings as well. Meanwhile, they're in the top side, still looking for the counter play. You know that this dragon is going down, so you want to make something happen at least on the top side, so it makes sense, but it's not going to end up working out thanks to that pink ward. But because of that death in the mid lane, it's going to shift the matchup a little bit, because now that lost chapter has come through for Yaharong. It means that you're able to push pretty consistently as engaging in the top side.
Emo Plague down from Abby. There's going to be quite a lot of damage onto Ino, and the joys of Vladimir, everyone. He just wins the trade. That's it.
Yeah, it was ult invested as well as Ignite, though, there for Evie, so it's a case of investing that in exchange for hopefully getting a better recall situation, but the CS lead is starting to slowly but surely accrue. Evie could potentially look for the push into reset here to get the a little bit more of that damage, a little bit more of that CDL, which is so important on Vladimir for that laning phase. But as of right now, just slowly but surely pushing. But the question for me now is, with the plays happening in the mid lane, do you have a timing to go towards that bottom side and try and fully swing this lane? Because when we look down the list, the only situation that is positive here for Rascal Jester is that bottom side.
Well, Recap is getting continually bullied out, so it's going to be difficult to find a way to go down there. Ino stuck in the top lane, but does have access to the cannon barrage. And it does feel like HaChaMecha is only interested in farming up, which, fair enough, you are playing a Belveth, but it doesn't help the rest of your team get through the early stages, where DFM laners are just straight up outplaying in most cases.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a reason why there's CS leads being accrued across the board, and I feel like whenever you play against DFM, you're just praying you don't have to play against them on red side, because you're giving Evie a counter pick, and that is an absolutely terrible situation here in the LJL. Known for being one of the strongest players in the region historically, and sort of stamping authority on this matchup at the moment. However, the greediest player in human history, because still no recall about 8 minutes in, has basically got nothing to Sheen. This is the one window in which, if you are Rascal Jester, you go, right, we're going topside. Let's try and kill the Vladimir. Let's get him while he's got no money. Maybe we can do something.
I would agree with the theory. They're
Oh.
not going to go for it. That hook, I don't know if they actually saw you to put recall. Their Lightning Crash is going to come down. Forces 3 summoners out of the DFM bot lane. Good heads up the play there from Rascal Jester.
Yeah, easy enough. It's a nice little summoner trade, and if nothing else, you're going to be able to get yourself that priority secured on that bottom side, but also you're going to make sure that you do have the availability to have that flash down for the next Dragon contest. So it is going to have a knock-on effect for the next couple of minutes of time, and I really hope that Rascal Jester, they haven't looked the most proactive yet, so I'd like to see them utilize this opportunity now to target this potentially vulnerable Twitch Yumi lane.
If you've got an opportunity, well, the window is now. Herald is up though, and you can see the recalls coming in from both sides. Everyone now picking up items, including Abby. And they are making their way towards this Herald pit. And Rascal Jester are the first ones with a setup. So if there is going to be a straight Twitch walking into that river, potentially we will see it being punished.
Yeah, starting up Shelton Benjamin is Hutchmaker, so might be wanting that one, but I think it's a little bit greedy here. It is that 3v4 situation right now. Recap hasn't arrived yet, is in the vicinity, and instead we're just jostling for position at the moment. The only issue is, look at that bottom wave. It's already pretty large, starting to stack up and pushing in, so you have to feel like the ones that need to pull the trigger here are DFM. They're the ones that are slowly but surely sacrificing, and if there's any champ that doesn't want to sacrifice CS, it's going to be this Twitch who has yet to buy that first item. It's a risky fight here, but the 5v5 might be about to break out.
Abby walked down from the top lane. He is first in the river. The DFM have got all 5 members. So do the Rascal Jester. But how do they approach it? How do they break in? How do they try to engage this fight? The answer is they're not really going to. Herald goes down without contest. The final chapter coming down just as a zoning tool. And it feels like it's been a whole big waste of time here for the Rascal Jester.
I'm going to be honest with you, I think that we contested that at the same amount of effectiveness as Rascal Jester did. But it might be able to get a lot worse as the flash is blown for Eno. So, I mean, I've heard of like watch parties for Worlds, but I've never heard of watch parties for Heralds. That's a new one.
Certainly.
It's inefficient, shall we say. Inefficient and secret now.
He is going to be fishing. Beautiful hook. Lightning Crash coming down. But the rest of the DFM are here. Utapon, he's still alive. Yarok is coming in. And Utapon picks up that double kill. This is illegal.
Oh, it's a go next angle. That's a really unfortunate one, because now suddenly there's an investment of 2 kills worth of gold into this Twitch. The top side isn't looking good either, and it feels like suddenly DFM are feeling very comfortable in this one, but trading back onto Evie. The Hemoplague and the Ignite available, but getting chunked pretty bad, and I mean, it's a nice attempt here from Rascal Jester, but it's just a little bit too much. I wonder how much of it was this depth charge. Look, the vision denial comes through from the Q. Unfortunately, though, the hook lands. However, that delay is enough for Steel to get inbounds, and once the Skarna's on you, there's no escape. Soul gets locked up. Harong is there to help out, and it's just 2 kills over to the Rat.
Alright, Secret going in for another hook. This one surely must result in a kill, and Soul will be able to get himself one. But yeah, that was a crushing blow to Rascal Jester in the bot lane by Utapon, who now has that Blade of the Ruined King finished. Good to see you, Rascal Jester. They're not going to give up. In fact, Secret is setting up for what looks to be another dive as Hatchamecha is taking the Dragon. Hex Touch over the wall into the Dredge line. Forces the cleanse. Ignite is down. Utapon safe though.
Yeah, but that chunk will have meaning, because remember now Belveth is in the area. They did take the Dragon already, so going to be able to push this one and likely just deny the wave, as Utapon seems to be playing it smart enough, playing back for the one wave. One of the fun things about Twitch, obviously, that stealth can help out quite a lot in that regard, but Instead, Steel looking for the bailout. It could be a little bit awkward. In this bottom side, Yaharong is moving first as well.
Yeah, the recap is nowhere to be seen. There's going to be a 3-on-5, and Secret already chunked down low. There's a heal coming through, but Udapon picks up the kill anyways. Hatchamecha is getting destroyed by Arring, and Soul going into the alcove, trying to buy some more time, but it is a double kill, picked up by Utapon, and Hatchamecha escaping on a sliver of health. Recap has to burn the flash. It's DFM all the way.
Yeah, call him the Red Cross because that was a donation there in the bottom side. Both kills going over to that Rad, and suddenly Twitch is strong. Eno.
I think he's dead here right now. Honestly, Abby will be looking for the solo kill, healing up so much. No, the turret! Abby will die, and Ino survives.
The suck ain't enough there for the Vladimir. It's an easy turnaround as GP Eno looking strong in that one. The miscalculation is minor, but it's enough. And unfortunately for Evie, it's going to be a nice turnaround pickup here for the top side. That gold massive in terms of potentially flip-flopping this lane around in the opposite direction. As Secret maybe looking for more, but I think maybe spotted out is Steel.
Yes, but Secret on the disengage. You've got that 4-0 Twitch on the Utapon. I don't think he has recall since picking up the Blade of the Ruin King, so a lot of potential gold, a lot of potential power sitting on this AD carry, and DFM are switching their frames of reference. They're gonna hopefully try and funnel even more gold as we're gonna go back into this fight, and this is the power of having Prime in the mid lane. Yaharong just moves first.
It's also just a decent amount of knowledge here to know that that dive is going to come through. They prepared for it in advance. Yaharong, as you say, comes down. Steel is there too, and it's just a simple enough 4v3 to play out. 2 kills end up going over to here to Udapon. Easy donation, and I think it's really impressive here is that Yaharong is just soloing Hatchamecha, and as soon as Recap arrives, it's just like, yeah, I'll take you too. Go on, we'll take you both on. Easy double situation there for the Ahri in the mid lane, and Evie, it's so close, but barely doesn't have the damage to come through on this one. Even the Ahri, it's single-digit HP here. I mean, you've got to imagine it's just a biscuit gap here for Eno. Easy as you like, the GP. I mean, if it's that close on the calculation, you can't even blame Evie on that one.
That was close. Well, 40 minutes have passed, and DFM with a big plate advantage, of course, part of the 2000 goldie that they have built themselves right now. I will say objectives-wise, Rascal, Jester, they've got the 2 dragons. We're on... what is the rift? Cloud Rift. Okay, admittedly, the soul isn't too impactful, but still, if you're gonna get yourself that together with the Zeri, your job is not much easier.
Yeah, however, that was both ultis blown in the bottom side there for DFM, so having those on cooldown potentially means now that Rascal Jester could look for something. Flash trade is massive on this one, especially if you are the carrier of Yuumi. It becomes a buy one, get one free special at the supermarket there, where they are selling mouse, which I you know, not necessarily the most culturally accepted, but it's still pretty tasty, I imagine, as this Herald looking to get nommed down by Belveth, and when you've got that little bit of extra that she can gain off of killing that one, you have to imagine it's a priority.
Teleport down from Yaharong into the mid lane. DFM are going to contest, you have to imagine, and they're converging onto this Herald down to 7,000. If we take a look at the ultimate, still unavailable for Utapon and Harp. Everyone on the Rascal Jester have got the ult, and DFM, instead, they're going to go for the mid lane tier 1 turret. Nope, they're not going to be able to do it, actually. Rascal Jester with a rotation right in time.
Yeah, I guess potentially a little bit afraid of, again, those ultimates being down. You are playing that 5v3 kind of out, and you are ahead, obviously, as DFM, but are you ahead enough to not be playing around the 4-0 Twitch? I don't know if that's necessarily the case. So I think it's the smart decision to just take the step back and not risk things. However, this might give a potential window back into the game here, as Hatchamecha has got that Herald. If you can find any sort of picks here, especially onto that Twitch, you do have the potential to just blow the game wide open in your own favor, specifically using that depth charge because the cleanse is up.
Flash over the wall, that's the knock-up and the lockdown onto Yaharong, but he's just going to spirit rush over the wall, and Steel is going to impale Hatchamecha, who has to flash away. Teleport is going to be coming in for Minor. Recap in the middle of the fight. He's going to go golden. Steel now hooked right back in, will flash away to safety, and DFM, none of them are dying. Rascal Jester, the health bars are blinking. They will be forced to cede ground, and this engages. The dragon is up, and DFM will be eyeing it up.
Yeah, absolutely they will do, and this is one of those situations now where Twitch might be out, but Evie is in with the Ghost.
He's rushing, he's trying to kill Secret. Will the Hemoplague be enough? No, but one more transfusion will do the job. And Ebby with a kill, DFM with a dragon, and Rascal Jester. They're trying to go for these plays, but they're just not getting any returns. I know is in a tough spot to say the least. The rest of Rascal Jester are coming in, but 1-on-4 is not the greatest odds, and Ebby with yet another one. 2 kills now for the Vladimir.
Aye, no, no, no. In the top side, that's a rough one for Rascal Jester. 2 deaths coming through, 2 kills for DFM, and you got to feel like they can transition that into the top tower pretty easily. It's just starting to become a little bit of a gold problem. There might be a bit of a wallet whacking in this one, as I mean, just look at the gold graphs on this one. It's incredible to look at. Yaharong, again, slowly, quietly farming up a storm, becoming relevant, and Udapon,
for Soul, who's gonna hop over this wall, but is taken so incredibly low. And yeah, it's good that you pointed out Yaharong, because he's 1-0-1, but 40 CS ahead, and kind of has been there all the time, has been getting the priority to let the DFM find place. And I mean, this isn't admittedly the greatest look, but he survives.
Yeah, and it's just Ari being a little bit too slippery. The CC is there, but there's no W knockup here to chain the CC for the rest to arrive here from the Belveth, and because of that, the slippery Ari can escape, does sort of assassinate here on the side, do a lot of damage to Soul, which chunks out, and it means that, you know, off the back of the rest of the team playing on the front side, Udapon is dealing out so much damage too, it just feels like Rascal Jester there chunked, and this was before Evie really got to do anything. Meanwhile, on the bottom side, though,
we're gonna cut to yet another teamfight. Teleport is being channeled, and that's the final chapter. Impale onto Hachimecha. Easy as that. He's gonna try and get something back. Still alive. Yaharong swoops in, takes the kill, and it's DFM that we have seen this split so far, where come 20 minutes, they're suddenly all over the map, and they are outnumbering you everywhere.
yeah, but the biggest problem here is that DFM are also scaling very effectively, as Secret now caught.
Steel is going to go ham on this one. Ebby is in the bot lane, close enough for backup, but Steel deciding to take the chill pill.
Here's the problem. If you are a Rascal Jester fan, it's Evie is a one-item Vladimir and dealing plenty of damage. Udapon is roaming onto your GP and looking for a solo kill.
Mm-hmm. And most likely will get it. Well, Aino does have the flash. He's going to look for the turnaround with the barrel, but I don't believe that damage connected. He's going to eat an orange, and BK burns the flash, though.
Yeah, and if you're in a situation where the Twitch that's down 2 levels is able to blow your GP's flash, the game is pretty hard. And it's not exactly getting better, because Twitch about to get that potential second item online, whether we see the Kraken Slayer for the greedy damage or we see something like the Gale Force instead, I don't know, we will see. I would go Kraken because I am a psychopath, but we will see what Udapon goes towards. And it feels like all of these champions, bar maybe Ari and Skarner to an extent, have very good later stage scaling. And even then, in certain situations, those 2 champions can be pretty good too. On the flip side, Rascal Jester, yes, they are scaling as well, but they are quite behind, and realistically, on the item spikes that they can fight, only Zeri is even close to the opposite number. So it feels like, unless Sol can dish out tons of damage, which realistically their champion right now isn't going to do the most, it's hard to find long 5v5 fights that are winning, unless you can find some sort of pick initially, which, while Secret is playing very well, it's not quite worked out here so far for Rascal Jester.
Not really, and I feel like as we're going later into the game, the thing you mentioned earlier on, the range, it starts becoming very relevant, because Belveth, quite short range. I know we'll need to set up barrel chains, which definitely possible, but not the most reliable form of DPS, and it's only really Soul with Stack Lethal Tempo that has any semblance of range, and even then, you're facing a Twitch. Is that really going to help you so much? So it definitely feels like it's going to go from bad to worse here for Rascal Jester, but they've got some hope. I feel like their composition, if you find the right engagement, they can win the fights if you give them some more time. Unfortunately, DFM, not interested in giving more time. They're going to start out the Baron, and they're going to take it.
Yeah, they're going to delete it, so it's gone before any kind of contest can come through. However, Engage.
Steel is going to find the Impale onto Recap, who is going to go into that ultimate heavy, taking down with the Ignite. He is just going to survive, and now Rascal Jester are getting cut down in the river. So is almost activated. He's on the flank looking for more kills, but no, it's just 2 for DFM. It's the Baron for DFM, and Rascal Jester again walking away empty-handed.
Yeah, they will likely get themselves that mid tower because of these HP values, or at least the dragon, if not. Which isn't the worst thing in the world. You are putting yourself onto Soul Point. The problem is, I don't know if they'll be able to contest it in a couple minutes, especially with this Baron being started. They're also not going to do it too quickly. Here comes Seal. The Predator's online.
Got the smile. Let's see. He steals the dragon. Oh no, just adding insult to injury here. It's a feels bad moment for the Rascal Jester squad.
Yeah, never mess with the Scorpion and the Cat. Easy steal there for Steel, looking pretty happy with that one. Namesake coming to fruition, and I mean, this to me is just the Twitch show. It looks okay to start with. The GP ulti is a little bit late, but only just came off cooldown, and the deletion onto Evie is attempted, but look at the damage here from Udapon. Just starts hitting so hard in a second as bang, bang, bang goes Recap. Eno then getting chunked too. The last chapter over the backline as well. Easy enough, and it just feels like DFM, they have the damage when they can dish it out, but it was so close here for Rascal Jester.
Close, but not close enough. Soul will have to go over the wall. And let's see how much DFM can break this map more with the Baron buff. The tier 2 in the top lane is going to fall initially. Hopefully they'd be looking at the inhibitor turrets, trying to, you know, put the final... set themselves up to really finish this game off.
Yeah, and it's a case they don't really need to do too much. We see the Predator pop, but realistically, Steel is just threatening. There's no actual engage going to come through there. They have strength in these two lanes, as Yaharong very much sitting pretty in that top side, as maybe they try and collapse onto the Ahri, but you are collapsing onto an Ahri, which is a very difficult task to accomplish. I would like to see them play through 3 lanes if they can, at least slow push in that bottom side. Get that tower, use this as more of an economy Baron than an actual game-ending Baron, because realistically speaking, you have no reason to threaten the game to be over, as teleport there coming through from Recap might be looking for some sort of flank, but...
That is a very wide flank. And he is going to be spotted on the way. In fact, Evie and Yarong are on their way to try and take him down. This is...
No. Oh,
this
no.
is dangerous. Someone play the Ghosting because Evie is coming for Recap, and in the meantime, Utapon is unleashing hell in the bot lane. The final chapter coming in, and Yaharong will take down Secret. That's Recap falling out to Evie. DFM with 2 more kills.
It's just too easy for DFM. They'll happily take your life. They'll take your towers. They might just look to take a little bit more. Maybe that inhib's going to fall, as you know, you do have 2 members down here on the flip side for Rascal Jester. Evie going to happily sustain up to that thanks to those transfusions as well. And I mean, they've got that opportunity, but they're not going to push for it. They will just take those outer towers. And when you've got yourself a 10k gold lead, 11k now, it just feels like it's all DFM from here.
Yeah, it very much feels like this splits expectations Trump what Rascal Jester were able to do at the end of Spring, because they were the DFM killers in Spring Split. They were the only team able to beat them in the regular season, and now it just seems like we're back to business as usual with Rascal Jester, quite frankly, looking lost this game.
I mean, the problem is that as soon as they ended up having that issue in the mid lane very early on, they lost their window to try and shut down Twitch early. On top of that, Vlad was given the opportunity to free scale throughout the entire game into this GP top side without any contest. And this is kind of the issue, which partially stems from the death in mid lane, but it also stems from this Belveth pick, because you are investing into yourself more than into your team. You are that big late game carry. And whilst, you know, Hachimecha hasn't exactly died much, only the 1 death, there hasn't been any real proactivity either. It's a case of, I'm scaling, but I'm scaling into a composition that, realistically speaking, I can never touch. And that becomes a problem as we go later and later.
Especially when you're forced out of your own jungle. Where is Hachimecha really farming? I mean, Soul, Recap, I know they all want to get that CS, and you can see 164 at 27 minutes. And not even the second item completed. This Belveth has a long way to go before it's any relevant.
Oh, absolutely. It's a little bit of a nightmare scenario, and I think this also just doesn't fit Rascal Jester as a team, because when you look at this team in general, I feel like it's Hachimetra is the one that you look for these proactive early game plays. I mean, Secret has looked fantastic on this Nautilus in terms of finding some engages that, realistically played a little bit better, or a little bit differently, sorry, from other members, might have resulted in kills. It's not enough alone. It's always been Hachimetra making that tempo in the early game, controlling what Rascal Jester wants, and if you're not put on this Wukong, if you're not put on something that can be proactive, suddenly this feels like a little bit of a sinking ship that is without their captain.
That's a very great metaphor. That is exactly how Rascal Jester have felt this game. DFM will be able to take the Soul Point Dragon, but it feels just like a formality. That was, in fact, the economy ban. The next one is spawning right now. All the inhibitors are standing intact. But for how long? I don't really know. Yarong is 5 levels ahead of Hachimecha.
Yeah, I think that honestly, Yarong just went, there's no way someone would be stupid enough to walk up to me when I'm 5 levels up, so
He's good. It's a Zeri.
Yeah. It's balanced. It does end up getting away scot-free for that one, but it just is a case now of DFM turn to that Baron and get ready to unleash Rain. If Udapon is given half a second, your whole composition will get Thanos snapped out of existence, because that's a 3-item Twitch. Hurricane online, you're going to hit absolutely everyone. It feels like it might be a 50-50 angle. Hachimetra looking for that one. I don't know how much we'll be able to see, but they now know it's coming. Lissandra Far.
I don't believe DFM know that Hachimetra is behind the pit. They are going to play it safe. They don't know where Hachimetra
Oh, they don't
is,
know.
and that is enough to keep them guessing. You can see the patience on this Baron. They wait out the counter barrage. The DPS stops. There is the engage going in from Rascal Jester. Steel is almost dead, but Utapon, he's still alive. He is still untouched. He is still hitting every single member of Rascal Jester. Recap actually almost taking him down, but the rest of the team is dead. That is a 4-for-1. You only got the support, and I know he's faced with an impossible task as Steel is looking to just run him down. Over the wall goes Yaharong. The scale shots missed, but it doesn't really matter. It's a matter of time. You have to feel like, I know, under the turret is going to eat an orange, but it's not all okay, because that's the ace, and DFM are going for the Nasher.
And you wonder whether they could have potentially been looking to end that one if the kill comes a bit further, or a little bit earlier rather, but I guess it's not going to come through this time. Instead, going to turn towards that Baron. It's pretty much as easy as you'd like. Going to contest that one, no one shall. And it just feels like suddenly DFM, they're starting to unleash it. And as you say, Udapon completely untouched in that one. The initial engage looks great here from Secret, but it's not going to be quite enough. They do know where Hachimetra is thanks to that Baron trigger on the backside, and it looks great. The knockup actually helps out a lot. Baron with the assist as Steel tries to get bursted down, but it's not enough, and Twitch leaves the enemy feeling a little bit twitchy-ish, as it's going to be plenty of damage unleashed. Nice cleanse flash away from Recap, the zoning comes through, but there's no damage available, and unfortunately, what can you do if you can't deal damage?
Well, not much is the simple answer here, and I know buying a lot of time here, honestly stopping DFM from breaking open the base, giving Rascal Jester one more chance, and this engage, it almost worked.
Oh, yeah.
Utapon doesn't have summoners. And all the ultimates are back up.
I think that is a fantastic point, that there is no summoners available. Counterpoint, Steel has Predator and is trying to sprint down literally anyone. And I still don't know how easy it'll be here to find this Twitch, because when you are in stealth, when you are legitimately a whole screen away, unleashing that spray and parry, that rat-a-tat-tat, making the enemy go splat, it's quite difficult to find access for this composition for Rascal Jester. They're very reliant on Secret to do so, and Nautilus can only go so far.
That is very true indeed, and the inhibitor towers are under siege. The mid one will go in just a couple of more shots. The bot one is dead already. It's a patient game. DFM, they've got all the goalie they could want, 13,000. The numbers read at the top right now, and Rascal Jester, they need to pick their fight very carefully, because they might only get one more.
Yeah, they very well might only get the one, and you have to wonder what is their out. And to me, it is potentially looking Like they might have one.
Ooh, Harung looking for the gauge, forces the ultimate counter on Mikap. He goes golden. He doesn't have the flash. He is a dead man walking and usable on this side with this spray and pray. He is going to go golden. He does not care about the crowd control. He doesn't care about Rascal, Jester, and neither do DFM. As at this point in the game, it's all done. It's all dusted. You have to believe Hatchamich and Sol, they're alive. But Abby says not for long as he dives forward and Sol barely keeping on. The Nexus starts are down, and the Nexus itself is going to be exposed. Some more fun DFM will have in the base of Rascal Jester, but they will surely take the win 6-1 to finish off the first round robin.
Yeah, it's a clean match there for the side of DFM. They're able to sweep through Rascal Jester, and with a kill score of 21-3, you can see there was a little bit of a domination in this one. That was a statement game for them.
It absolutely was, and Rascal Jester 3-4 first round robin. I'm not writing them off yet. That is exactly the same story we saw from them in spring. But facts have to be said. They haven't impressed me too much.
No, their composition was designed to do one thing, and that was let's gank bot, and they didn't succeed in doing so at all because, unfortunately, they never actually really got a proper opportunity to move first as a unit to go down towards the bottom side. When you consider the fact that the game is already tough because of the Vladimir scaling later on into the game, it feels like unless you can slow down one of these scaling side lanes, you're going to have a rough time. And it just feels like if they don't have that aggressive jungle matchup, they can't make the proactive plays that they need to make.
Not at all, but I think we'll throw it over to a break and then bring on JReal to talk more about what just happened.
Another performance there coming through from DFM and Rascal Jesters. Another clash of those two titans. Although Rascal Jesters maybe not living up to the same standards they have previously before. And I have to say, shout out Nymira. Obviously loves Ari. If you don't follow him on Twitter, you'd also maybe not know that he also loves Yumi. Hence the tweet he tweeted today. But you don't need to fact check me on that one. Just believe me. Just believe your boy JReal. But going into this game, obviously we all predicted DFM to pick up the win there. I think it's exactly kind of how we expected it to go. What we didn't expect is some of these picks. Okay, so let's start with Skarner. Skarner was last played in the LJL in spring 2021 playoffs by Hatchamecha, where they lost to DFM on that Skarner. So it's been a while since we've seen the Purple Scorpion. Recollect, how are you feeling about this pick? Obviously, it's not something that we particularly see that often.
Yeah, so the Skarner pick is actually not too bad. The idea is twofold, right? The first is that blue side lacks a lot of range, so you can kind of get away with either Skarner Yumiing it if the game goes later and just ult comboing to guarantee that Skarner can get in, or obviously you can just leave the Yumi elsewhere and just let Skarner do their free thing. And the second is that you have easy interrupts to Belveth, specifically the E with the damage resistance. So that sort of setup and ability to sort of match up well in that specific area is pretty nice. On top of that, has a decent matchup to a lot of the jungle pool that was available because there are so many jungle bans within this pick ban. So it makes sense in that regard. It also facilitates that lack of engagement they have. I think it was piloted pretty well overall. I mean, Skarner's one of those champions that, there is not that much difference between a good and a bad Skarner. You could do the little spin mechanic, I guess, at the very end to extend the range of pull, but apart from that, it's very much you do what you need to do.
I think there's also that aspect of, quote Zandara, you have to pay your taxes. If you're playing against Skarner, you need to be able to pay the taxes. If you don't, well, you're going to be in trouble. But on to the next pick. So it was Twitch. Last played in summer 2021 by Utapon himself. And again, I think this pick has been looking pretty good. It's been popular in some other regions as well. I know that Kashka, it's been played around as well. So it's not exactly a absolutely out there pick, but it's still something that we haven't seen in a while. Were you feeding it today? Obviously with Yumi, definitely does feel paired up pretty nicely.
DFM definitely played well around it, because as we saw from the early laning phase, if you just leave a Twitch Yumi lane on its own, they tend to get bullied around quite a lot. But we had especially Yaharong on that Ari moving around the map. Steel was there to cover him, and honestly, once that double kill came through, no real criticism there towards Utapon. He just piloted the pick as well as you should be, and once you get to the team fights, well, unless you're behind, you are just going to Thanos snap the enemy team.
Yeah, and then the last one was Vlad, which hasn't been played since summer 2020. And there were a few people that played it. Evie was one of these people that played it, but last time they played it, they didn't have a good game, and it was against V3. So how times have changed. The Vlad pick, what were you guys thinking about it? Obviously, it is quite strong, as we heard from Kashka early on. It does win a lot of those trades early, but obviously notoriously a very late game scaling champion.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those where, again, decent matchup into the GP specifically, so it makes sense in that regard. Also, very low range composition you're playing into, so Vladimir, typically a champion that excels when he's able to gain backline access, or is able to at least get into fights without getting immediately one-shot. If you can get that one rotation off, at least in the current Vladimir, that's usually enough to get you a couple kills, so you're feeling pretty good at that point. It's not necessarily as much of a drain tank as he used to be. But again, it's also just a case of compositionally, I think this was a very smart adaptation that came through here for DFM. It was the attempt to try and get Evie onto one of these tanks, get him off of this Gnar, but instead just goes, yep, we don't want to play Gnar GP. You can have Vlad GP instead, and you guys can cry, have fun. So it feels like that little adjustment from DFM is something that I think they have lacked in the past, but also they were doing a little bit too much of experimenting at the start of the season. So maybe this is them starting to find that right sort of balancing act of not too much of what they always do and not too much wild experimentation like crazy scientists. We might have found that common middle ground.
Well, DFM looking strong once again. Obviously, things are heating up for that grudge match of the return of Sengoku vs DFM, but obviously that's going to be in the second round robin. We're finishing off the first round robin today. One more match to be played, and it will be coming up next after the break. We are going to quickly say goodbye to Recollect, as we are going to be joined by a new caster in the final game for today. So we'll see you after the break.